Ready for book objectives. So on your outline, Taylor, can you bring up, put a note in? I need to put screenshots of the outline in here so people know exactly where we are. Because right now I'm just telling them verbally. I want to show screenshots like I did in the positioning or the author identity thing. All right, so the first question, but if you scroll down, there's a blue section. The first question should be, how will your book serve your reader? What will they get out of it? All right, so let me give you some examples of answers. And these are real answers from real books that we've done in Guided Author. This is a book about learning. This book is actually out. It's called Super Learning by Jonathan Levy. You can look at it on Amazon if you want. So what he wants, his goals for his reader. I'd like to convince them that they aren't stuck where they are now. They can learn anything fast. I'd like to give them the tools and techniques to actually learn faster. Finally, I'd like to open their eyes to an alternative way of living from health to lifestyle design to their career. I want to ultimately inspire and empower them to live the lives of their dreams. See how this is what he wants his readers to get out of it? Okay, cool. Next one. This is a book about sales for women. Also, again, real book. The women, this one's not out yet. The women who read this book will feel empowered to ask for the sale confidently. The women who read this will feel like if she can do it, I can do it too. The women who read this book will use the strategies to increase their conversion rate without feeling pushy or salesy. And the women who read this will feel inspired to stand in the face of fear and go for their dreams in sales. Pretty clear objectives of what she wants for her audience. Okay, so let's stop for a minute. I want you to fill out that section. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A, not the chat. Please try and put them in Q&A. And then Hal and Emily, call out questions you think we should answer. If you guys want to, yeah, so questions in Q&A. If you have examples, like, hey, here's my 3. What do you think of these? Put that in chat. And then we'll give Hal and Emily, call a few of those out, and let's give feedback on those. Oops. Oh, yeah. Anyone want to post theirs? So start posting them as you write them. Charlie, we should have writing music, like when we're on here.
You got it.
You know, like on the Tonight Show. Give me some envelope music or whatever it is on the Letterman show.
We're definitely getting some in, though. We can go ahead and start reading these out.
Go ahead. Kick them up.
So from Martine, number 1, learn about their psychological constraints. Number 2, understand psychology is a real aspect of someone's fitness journey. Number 3, allow people to dig into what they more than likely pushed aside.
Yeah, my assumption is that's a book about the psychology of health and fitness. That sounds great. Like that's shit. That a book that helps people understand why they don't stick to programs or why they're not in shape. If those are the goals for the reader, that's fantastic.
And here's one from Graham that's a little squishier. Number 1, learning the English language. Number 2, have an adventure and a discovery. Number 3, not to teach birds to fly, just let them.
I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Graham, I'm not criticizing. I just don't know what any of that means. Like, is the book teaching people English? Because then why would the goal for the reader be learning the English language? If it is, cool. But like, I don't see the connection there. But that's just right now. If it's going to become clear later, that's okay. But I don't get that.
And the idea is, sometimes it's so easy when we're in our own heads with our own ideas to try to speak it in our own kind of coded speak, like teach birds to fly, just let them. I don't know what that means. Certainly that means something to you, but the clearer you can get using language that's applicable to, that everyone can understand, the easier it'll be to put your book idea together.
Yep.
Here's
Any
one.
more?
Yeah, here's one from Max says, number 1, best practices for starting a marketing career. Number 2, what they need to do immediately after graduating. Number 3, mistakes to avoid. So you can see an implied audience there already.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good one. Yep.
Here's another. Oh, this is from Lourdes. Hey, Lourdes. Yours are super on lock. Number 1, help women who are in business together with their husbands or partners navigate having an emergent. Not sure what you mean by emergent, but I imagine that means something to you. Number 2, how my credibility method helps small business owners manage their reputation. And number 3, empower women to speak their truth in a male-dominated industry.
Yeah, I get it. No, that like I can. So for a lot of these, we have to imply what the book's about out of it, which is fine. That's a good test for us to see if we can deduce what the book is about based on what you want the reader to get. Then your positioning is probably already in a good spot, which is really good.
So
Let's
here's
do
one.
a couple more.
Yeah, here's one from Sam. It's just one item. It says, "Learn about me." I'm not getting anything out of that yet. Why do I want to
Yeah.
learn about
So no
learn
one
about
cares
you?
about learning about you,
Yeah.
Sam. Even if you're writing a memoir, no one's unless it is okay. That's not true. If you're doing a legacy memoir for your family, then the learn about me purpose would make sense. But again, if you know it's a legacy memoir for your family, this is not the webinar you should be on. You should be waiting until you should be coming back Wednesday, because the template for memoir is a little different than the template for reputation book. We weren't clear about that in the email. That's a mistake we made. We should have sent two different templates, but then the reason we didn't is because we thought people would be confused. They don't know which book they're writing. So I wanted to be able to walk through this to help them understand.
Here's one that's from Gathinji. I'm probably mispronouncing your name. Just one point here to let the reader know what to ask health providers. I think with that one, I need a little more to understand why.
No, not necessarily.
No, you don't think
Maybe.
so?
Well, so we've had doctors come in to Guided Author and do this. I think, I forgot his name, but Mark, I think something. It was a while ago. He's doing a book on basically how to talk to your doctor, like what to ask them, and how to make sure your doctor is doing the right things, but through your questions. If that's the point is what to ask them, is educating you on how to deal with health providers. That's actually, he could be clear about it, but that's actually a great book idea. I think it's fantastic.
I really like this write-in from Lana, who sounds like she's a bit of a crossover into memoir. Number 1, share the wisdom of my grandmother, born during the Depression, impact of powerful surviving women. Number 2, share the impact of self-silencing, people-pleasing, and control. Number 3, gratitude and humor for hard times, wisdom for the now.
Yeah, the first two sound like it's for her. So the question is, what I want to share wisdom from my. Oh yeah, I guess no. That may cross over, may not.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of questions coming in actually where people are verging on what sounds like biography and they're unclear. Is it a memoir? Is it nonfiction? Like maybe I'm writing about my grandparents or I'm writing about some other people I want to talk to. How would you categorize that for people?
Okay, so I'm not sure why anyone would be writing a biography.
Well,
you mean like telling someone else's story?
But yeah, like telling my grandparents' story, or I've seen several comments about that. I've also seen comments about, well, I want to go interview people, get their wisdom and write about it. So
okay, those are two different things.
Yeah, they're different
things. Right. Okay. No, that would be actually, I would actually stay with this process for, if you're telling your grandparents' story, then if you're telling their story, that's memoir. That's a legacy book. If you want to collect their wisdom to share with others, okay, that's fine. But there's no one is looking for grandparent wisdom. Well, actually, that's probably not true. You could position this as wisdom from, the greatest wisdom from the greatest generation. And so what you want the audience, what you're hoping the audience takes is like wisdom from people who are older, the things that matter to them now, all that kind of stuff. That could work. That could totally work. That's not a memoir. That is a reputation book. It's just an unusual one. It's one we don't see very often in Scribe, but it's totally doable. It's going to be a hard book to write, though. You're going to have to really position that well. Like the best example I've seen of that is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. And that's what he learned from one guy. It's not a whole collection interview of wisdom, but it's tough to pull off, but that's a doable book. And that could be good. Any others before we move on? All right, let's do second question. Now, pay attention to the way we frame this. Imagine it's 2 years after your book was published, and we're looking back on the results together. What's the book done for you that made the effort worthwhile? So what did you get out of it? Now, let me give you some examples, okay? So these are realistic book objectives, leaving a legacy, right? And you can leave a legacy. It doesn't have to be a memoir, a nonfiction book. This book is as nonfiction reputation book as it gets. This still leaves a legacy, right? I'm like, it's leaving some part of a legacy, not my whole legacy, but some part. Okay. Impact people. Obviously I mean, look, we got 789 people on right now. We're impacting just on the webinar about this book. Okay. So for reputation books can definitely impact people. And if you care about that, you don't have to, you could care less if your book impacts people. That maybe isn't a big value to you, but if it does, then that's totally fine. I would be specific about this. For this, I wouldn't say impact people. For this, I would say I want to help people learn how to write their book, right? So be specific with how you want to impact people, right? What you get out of it. Raise authority and credibility in your field. We should probably, Taylor, make a note to move this slide to number 1. We call them reputation books. And so like the biggest thing a nonfiction reputation book gets you is a raise in reputation. As soon as you write a book, you know, you're elevated to a new status. You are an expert in your field. That is unequivocal. Now the book has to be good, right? It's got to be at least half decent, but your reputation is going to go up. Raise your visibility in the media. Now it's really easy to get media attention if you have a book. And I mean all media, not just like New York Times, you know, like the big media, you know. Like you want to go on a podcast without a book, you can get booked. You know, it's harder, but you can do it. You have a book, really easy to get on podcasts, right? Or to get in, especially niche media. So like the girl writing the book on tutoring, you want to get covered in educational media, having a book on how to be a tutor is a great way to do it. Whereas if you say, I own a tutoring company, maybe you can get on, maybe not, right? But a book, easy. Generate incoming new business. Obviously, like this should be the primary goal for most people with a reputation book, or it should be up there, 1 or 2. I mean, I want to help everyone on earth write a book, but I also want some portion of those people to work with us, you know, and it'll be way smaller portion than everyone that we help write a book, which I'm totally fine with. But like, I still want that to help the company, no doubt. Speaking. So the Taylor, put a note in there. I want to change this slide to make it a Zoom picture because right now no one's getting on stages. But I have seen, I don't know about you guys, I have seen an explosion in online events, webinars, whatever. Having a book is a great way to get people like, look, I mean, we gave a copy of this away, and this is a big reason why a lot of you are here is I've written my own books, but also you got this, and I've written this, and it's a Wall Street Journal bestseller. It's the only bestseller there is, I think, other than Stephen King's book on how to write books. And his is a novelist. I think it's the only book on how to write nonfiction books that's a bestseller. I might be wrong about that. I'm not claiming that. I just think it is. But the point is getting people to come to either your webinars or getting on other webinars or other online events. It's still a big deal. Okay. Working through an issue. So notice we talked about, Emily brought this up before. Writing a book is a great way to work through an issue. And I'll give you, this is a real book that we did at a guided author called Soon She Will Be Dead. This is by Brita Long. She's going to be on tomorrow morning. You guys are going to meet her. She's real fun. She's been guided author twice. She's written 2 books with us. She's a trust and estates attorney. And when her job is like wills and all that stuff. So when someone dies, like she's the person you call, right? And to divvy up their estate and to read their will and all that. When her mom died, she just went to pieces. Like she was a total disaster and a mess. And she realized like a lot of her clients were going through that and she wasn't really helping them through one of the hardest parts in their life. And so she became really good at that, at helping people through all the non-legal stuff of this. And then it was crazy. So she wrote the book to kind of help, not just to help give her clients, but also help people navigate this problem that she had. And then it was nuts. As she was writing this book, her dad died. And like, obviously that was not orchestrated, right? But like, the book helped her work through her own issue. So it ended up being like really cool the way it worked. So it's totally valid to say what I want to get out of this is I want to learn my stuff better. I want to be able to talk about it better. I want to be able to work through this issue by figuring it out for a book. Something like that is a perfectly valid, realistic objective. So let me give you some examples of what real authors have written. This is still from Super Learning. We've built our B2C business in large part by leveraging the free book funnel and the exposure of the book. Notice how he didn't say the book's going to blow up our business. Is that we're going to use the book as part of something else we're doing. We're doing over 1 million in corporate and enterprise subscriptions because of the exposure and credibility of the book and the event. So again, the book's part of a media system that he's building. We've sparked research, conversation, debate about education reform, and are working on a few not-for-profit pilot initiatives, right? That's third, right? And it's a little vaguer, which is okay. But the point is the book is part of a larger conversation that he has a company about teaching people how to learn, right? Sales about women. I have a following of female entrepreneurs, and my brand is respected and recognized. I got it. I frequently get messages from people, women and men, who thank me for writing this book because it generally helped them. Yep. That's kind of what she's getting, right? And I'm a sought-out speaker on the topic of sales and female empowerment. I've spoken at conferences like South by and Traffic and Conversion Summit. Not this year, she's not. I shouldn't joke, man. I was supposed to be speaking at both of those, and they got canceled. But you see how you can have very different objectives. These are all realistic. Now, if you want to start filling out your objectives, go ahead. Like, you don't have to just listen to me. This is interactive. Fill out that worksheet as we go. But I'm going to go into something else. I'm going to help you kill your fantasies now so you can save your reality later. We're going to talk about unrealistic objectives.
Before you get into that, Tucker, I am curious, for people watching, what are your top 3 objectives so far? Like everything Tucker just went through, take your pick real quick. I want to see.
Great poll. And you don't have to have 3. If you only have 1 or 2, that's okay. So you're 1, 2, or 3, but don't be putting 8 on. Although there's only 7, so.
And I'm going to end the poll here in about 10 seconds.
Oh, you got to have a timer. You got to have a Jeopardy timer here.
All right.
Taylor, seriously, Taylor, put on the list. We want to figure out music, so we have downtime.
Somebody put like, can you not do music because it's a distraction? And I think I actually agree. We don't play music during Guided Author, so it's a fair point.
Do. We do now. We have the background stuff, but it's like Japanese lo-fi hip hop, which is amazing because it's like this calming music.
Can you send me that? Whatever you use. All right, I'll share results here. Top objective is to impact people.
Huh. Raise authority, credibility, yeah, and then generate new incoming business. Okay, so if you have impact people as your top one, that's cool. Just be specific. For your sake, the more specific you are about how you want to impact people, the better. Because impact people is just generic, right? So like, again, I didn't say I want to impact people. I said I want to help everyone on earth know exactly what they have to do to write their book. Write their nonfiction book, I should say. Because this is only about reputation book. We're writing another book about memoir right now. All right, let's talk about unrealistic objectives. Selling 1 million copies. Yet before you say it, I'm the asshole who sold 4.5 million copies of his book, and I helped Tiffany write her book, and she sold over 1 million copies, and David Goggins has sold well over, like, I think 1.5 million or 2 million copies. So like, it's not impossible to sell 1 million copies. I'm just telling you, if you have that as an objective, it's extraordinarily unrealistic unless you have a huge audience. Like David had a huge audience and Tiffany had a huge audience. So like, that's not unrealistic for them. If you have a huge audience, then you can put that potentially as an objective. But the reason it's a bad objective is because it distracts you from the people you can help, right? We're going to talk about this deeply in audience, but to summarize, the more niche your audience for your book, the more it will impact people. And to sell 1 million copies, you generally have to write a really broad book, and it's almost impossible for most people to do that, and it's not going to get any attention. We're gonna dive. If that confuses you, don't worry. We'll dive deep into it again in about half an hour. Get famous. You are not going to become famous from your book, and I'm saying that as someone who became famous from his book. Right? It basically doesn't in America. There are almost no famous writers anymore. They basically don't exist. And if you're thinking, let's think of exceptions. There are a ton of people who become famous and then write books. Who's famous from writing books? J.K. Rowling. Malcolm Gladwell, Michael Lewis, me, and I'm not even as famous as Gladwell. So like, I'm not that famous. I'm like, I have some fame from writing, but I'm not like, no one stops me.
You're more infamous than famous.
That's famous. You don't get to be infamous unless you're famous. That's how it works. Who else? I mean, there's almost who's famous for writing books and nothing else.
Tim
Stephen
Ferriss,
King,
yeah.
Stephen King, Tim Ferriss. Although I'd argue right now he's more famous for his podcast than his books. Yeah, right. The fact that we have to struggle to think of this tells you, right? And by the way, all those people, professional writers. So now what you can do is get famous in your niche. And we're going to talk about that in about 30 minutes with audience. You can totally get super famous in a niche. But I don't mean, when I say famous, I mean like in People magazine or on, you know, like in Time. Like I was in Time's 100 most influential people like a decade ago. You're not getting that from a book. All right. Be a New York Times bestselling author. Again, not impossible. These are unrealistic, right? I've got 4 of them. So like I'm the hypocritical asshole telling you, but unless, generally speaking, unless you have an audience of people who are 10,000 people waiting to buy your book and they all buy it the first week, this isn't happening. Okay.
Hey,
Get
Tucker,
on Oprah. Yes.
a lot of people ask about that bestseller thing. Can we post the link to your blog post about how the bestseller
I'll
list
post
works?
the video. The video is really comprehensive.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, Charlie, will you post that right now? So just so you guys know, there's lots of different bestseller lists. We can go over this a lot in the Q&A. There's a lot of different bestseller lists. There's the Amazon bestseller list. There's Wall Street Journal, USA Today, New York Times. I only have New York Times on here. If you care about being an Amazon bestseller, it's super easy. You can totally do that. Wall Street Journal and USA Today are harder but doable. New York Times is almost impossible. It's all in the video. Watch the video whenever you want. Okay? All right. Get on Oprah or Ellen. So we got, you know, almost 1,000 people on this webinar. It's not impossible that one of you writes a book that become like a thing that gets you on. It's just so unrealistic that I would not use that as an objective, because then it's like you set unrealistic objectives and you don't hit them, then you're not actually going after the things you can get from a book. These should all be bonuses, not objectives. What's next? Speak at TED, not going to happen. TEDx, totally possible, very realistic for a lot of you. Big TED is a different thing. Shit, especially because they might not have it for a while. And then last one, make your dad love you. This is like what we talk about, putting pressure on your book, right? Like if your dad doesn't love you, that is his problem and he needs to work that out. A book cannot solve that problem or make you happy. Books do not make you happy. They can be a tool you use to work through issues and get to the point you want to be, but they don't make you something. Clear? All right.
Raise your hand.
Guys?
Raise your hand if Tucker just killed at least one of those fantasies for you. I want to see.
Look, if any of this, here's the thing. If any of you writing books off of this have any of this happen, I will be the first to celebrate you. Seriously, I am hoping that some of this happens for some of you. But think of this as a bonus. This is like, man, this would be so cool. Like this is the dream that if I get lucky, these things happen. That don't turn this down. If you sell 1 million copies, don't send the check back to Amazon, right? Like
Tucker said this wouldn't happen. I refuse the money.
or even better, like, you know what's going to happen? Someone's going to do this. It's like, yeah, when you have fucking haters like Tucker Max who say it's impossible, tell them to screw off. Like, don't do that. But I'll tell you, you know what really pisses me off? Are the asshole clowns who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to tell you how to be famous from your book and be a best-selling author and like all that. Those people are all fucking clowns who don't know what the hell they're doing. And if you notice right now, none of them are teaching any of this stuff for free because they don't know what they're talking about. And so all they know how to do is market bullshit. I am trying to help you actually do the right thing, right? All right.
Karen had a great comment. This is all of the stuff I'm afraid will happen, which is a valid point.
That is a great question. Karen, I will tell you, this has all happened to me, except I haven't spoken at TED or been on Oprah and Ellen, but just about the rest of it, and my dad still doesn't love me. But the rest of it, I say that jokingly, but it's not. I know it's just true. He can't love anybody. It's his thing. But it is an unusual thing, selling millions of books and becoming famous off of it, and then like being well known. It is. I'll just tell all of you, like there's really cool parts of it. Don't get me wrong, but there is a lot of downsides you would never expect that are that can be soul crushing at times. So like.
Tucker, Tim Ferriss had a huge post on this about a month ago in
Yeah,
5 Fridays.
yeah, right.
I would point people to that. That's a great
Yeah,
post.
so Taylor, if you want, you can go on my Twitter account. I retweeted it, or go to Tim's Twitter account. He's got a great one about what it's like to be famous. Tim's is a little extreme. Like, he got really bent out of shape over the death threats. I got way more death threats than him, and they never bothered me. I used to invite those people to my parties and be like, show up, and just make sure, like, let me know you're coming, so I'll have someone film it. No one ever really took me up on that. Plenty of people showed up who could beat my ass, but they were all fans, right? They weren't like people threatening me. But that's my own issue.
Hey,
all right,
Tucker, if I could jump in, I have a good question here from Michael. He said, and I know you talked about this, but I think you could talk about it again. Is it unrealistic to have a goal of a decent second income from a book?
It depends. No, it is not unrealistic, but it depends. If you are decent at building funnels, meaning like a marketing sort of strategy for the book, and you use your book, there's two ways to build a decent second income from a book. One is selling copies. And so you need to be good at marketing the book, right? Which we don't really teach yet. We're probably going to roll that training out just because it's just not ready to show, and I don't want to teach stuff that isn't good yet. We'll roll that out in a few months. We offer that as a service now. We're just starting to, but only to our authors. I literally can't sell it to anybody. Like, even if you're like, take my money. It's like, no, we can't. Only to our authors who wrote books with us. Once we get really good at that, then we'll start training on it, and we'll put the training up on Scribe Book School. So that's why you need to, if you want to learn that training, subscribe to Scribe Book School's YouTube channel now, and then it'll be on there. You won't miss it. So yes, you can build a funnel to sell copies of the book. It's hard. It can cost money. It can be a pain in the ass. The better way to build a second income with a book is to use the book as a thing as a marketing tool for a business, or like a lifestyle business, or a side hustle, or something like that. Those are not the same thing. Like, if you're trying to sell copies, cool, that works. If you're trying to use the book to sell something else, that also works. And you can sometimes put those things together. But there's plenty of people. Dean Graziosi does that. Ryan Dice does that. Brendan Burchard does that. Things like that. You can, like, free book funnels. You can build all those things. We don't teach that yet. Other people, I think, teach that. I'm not sure. Their stuff is all paid teaching, though. We're going to give that away for free eventually. But no, it is not unrealistic. It's just more work. Anything else before we move? We're still on question 2. So one last thing with question 2, leave the shoulds and supposed tos outside. Like for this question, only write down what you really want, what you want. Don't be like, well, I'm supposed to want this. I'm supposed to want this. I should want this. Fuck that. This isn't about that. This is about you. Okay. So here's the question again. It's on your template. Fill it out. Do that right now. And then who wants to share as you're doing it? If anyone else, if you're finished, who wants to share theirs? That should say share, not read.
Should we invite
Do we want
them
a hot seat here, Charlie?
Yeah. That's what I was just going to suggest. So raise your hand if you actually want to speak directly to Tucker. So Aaron's the first one.
We'll pull you on, and you basically become a panelist, and you're gonna read them out loud, and then we're gonna live critique you. So you have to be. I won't be as mean as I normally am with people in Guided Author, because those people have already paid me a bunch of money, so that I can just be super mean to them. People are on this for free, so we'll be much lighter and kinder to you, I promise.
All right,
we'll still tell the truth, though.
So I'll bring Aaron on to talk. So Aaron, you'll have to unmute your mic. Can you hear us?
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Hi, Aaron.
What's up, Aaron?
Hi. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
Good. I want teachers to know that their students need love in real, tangible ways. I want to broaden the definition of school-appropriate love. And I want students to live in a world where their teachers are openly loving and involved in their lives.
Okay, so this.
I'm sorry. That was the first 3. Those are my.
Oh, good. That's what I was going to ask. Okay, cool.
Good. Yes, I'm so sorry.
Do the second 3. That's actually good. I want to do the first and the second 3.
Okay, perfect. I want to impact teachers to figure out how they can individually show school-appropriate love. I want to get a shout out from pipsticks.com. And I want to help create a world that intentionally loves students through their compulsory schooling.
Okay, good. I'm glad that you came on. So Do you notice that for your second three, none of them have anything that you actually get? It's all impact people, which is fine. But my
Yeah.
question is, so like you don't have any desire to take anything from this book for yourself?
Well, I'm obsessed with pipsticks.com.
Okay, so I have no idea what that is. I assume it's like a educational website?
Nope, it's a sticker. They've got a brick and mortar store, but it's a sticker subscription, and I'm obsessed with stickers.
What does that have to do with the book you're writing about schools?
Well, I assume there's going to be stars and sticker things, like ways that
Stickers
teachers give
equal
stickers.
love. My title is Stickers Equal Love.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So you have no business or anything around educational consulting or stickers or anything?
Nope.
Okay, that's fine. Then why take the time to write and publish the book? And I'm not saying you
Well,
shouldn't.
because-
I'm just asking.
My first book has to be about something.
Okay, so you're right. It does. It does. That is a correct observation. But like, so then this is just a thought exercise. I'm not saying you have to do
Yeah.
this. So you would be cool if this book was like, if it was published anonymously. Let's say it had all the impact on the readers that you talked about, but it was published anonymously, so you couldn't get anything from it. And even if Pip 6 called out the book, just not you as a person.
Yeah, because I guess my biggest thing in my whole life is to make sure students know the difference between safe love and unsafe love. Because there's
Okay.
a lot of people who, I'm using stickers as my metaphor for love, and that's what I do in my classroom every day. Every student gets a sticker, and they're told that they're loved every single day. So yeah, I wouldn't mind if students are getting loved, I would do it anonymously. I'd be okay with that.
So in 5 years, I think you are the very first person, like we get a lot of people who come in with the question 2 objectives, like what do you want to get from the book? And they have all altruistic stuff. When I ask that question, they're always like, oh, hold on. And then they back up and they realize they actually do want stuff from it. And they put it, you're the first person who's actually said, nah, I don't care. I just want to write the book to help people. And that's really, truly all I care about, which is valid. It's totally valid.
Sounds like you're in the right profession.
Yeah.
Right, seriously, true. All my questions were just making sure that
Oh, yeah.
what you say you want is aligned with what you actually want. It sounds like it is.
Yeah, no, I just really, growing up in high school, I got a lot of school appropriate love because I was good and I was smart, but I never really felt like they cared about me as a human. And I may not be able to teach a student something, but they're going to be able to tell you that they were loved after they've been in my classroom.
What do you, Emily, you were a teacher. What do you think about this? Do you have any comments?
I am so sorry. I was also running through comments on chat. Could you sum that up again for me briefly?
Oh, certainly. I would, my main goal as a teacher is to make sure students know that they're loved in a safe and appropriate way. And so I've had students who I couldn't teach a darn thing to, but they left my classroom knowing that they were loved and worthy of love.
That sounds like a good goal. I struggle to think of what content would help support that, though. Do you have a clear pathway to teaching teachers how to do that?
Well, I'm using the sticker as a metaphor, and that's how I've learned I can do it. They would have to find their own thing. They could either use stickers or whatever they wanted to do. But the main point is just they have to let their students know that they're loved before any learning can go anyway.
Yeah, that sounds cohesive.
Yeah, no, it does.
So
It does.
it would be.
It'll work.
I've been teaching for 10 years, and I was a sub for about that many before that. And I was a sub when I learned this trick. And so it would be, I know it's not going to be a memoir because it's going to teach. I'm going to use my stories to teach. So thank you for that first part about what kind of a book it is.
Yeah. No,
Awesome.
like, totally. I mean, like you should totally use your stories to give examples of what you're talking about 100%. But it's not, this is a reputation book, not a memoir at all.
Right.
But it sounds great. Like The one thing you might want to consider, though, and this is, again, just a suggestion, an invitation, it's not a requirement, because everything you've talked about is aligned so far to work. You might want to think about what you want from this book for you, beyond just helping other people. Like, that can be the primary thing. But because if you write, you're going on a long journey, it's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing for you out of this at all, it may be difficult to, there may be dips where you don't come out of, you know, like in terms of effort.
Yeah.
And doing it for other people is fantastic, and that will power you through a lot. But also saying, look, you deserve to get something for this, you know? Like a lot of authors, I'm so glad that you did, because this is a common mistake. A lot of authors think they're not allowed to want something from their book. I completely disagree. I think you should want something, even if the primary goal is to help others. This, you know, number one on question 2, if that's even 1 and 2 are about helping others, that's what you want. Number 3 should be, what are you selfishly getting? And I don't mean selfish in a bad way. There is a level of selfishness that all of us should have. We need to look after ourselves to some degree and to some level, and to take what is ours and not just be the endless giving tree, you know? And so, like, think about, I'm inviting you to think about what you'll get from this and other ways you can use this book to help you, in addition to helping kids and other teachers. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. So a realistic one would then be to build my reputation as an educator. Is that specific enough?
Yeah, it is. But then what do you do with that, right? So, like, I could imagine it, again, this is just my imagination, right? I could imagine you having a consultancy for teachers, like teaching them how to love, and you could have online courses, you could have just a blog about it, you could have, you know, like, teaching them how to be better teachers, how to show up caring more for students, whatever. I mean, like, I'm not trying to push that on you. These are just ideas, and it doesn't have to be a business. It doesn't have to be at all. It can be other things, you know, like you could, if you become an expert on this and someone who's good at it, school districts can bring you in and have you speak to teachers and teach them how to do this, and they'll pay for that. They'll pay, you know, $5,000 or $10,000, depending on the school district and whatever, especially if you have a good system. I could see the sticker company partnering with you.
Yeah.
And being like, you know, like, hey, we want to sell your book on our thing or give it away. Can we buy it from you? Or can we partner with you? Can we give you whatever? I mean, there's a lot of really cool things you could do. I would just be open to that, because I'm a big fan of the saying, a blessing rejected becomes a curse. And so if you do this great thing for other people, and then I'm just going to put it in the vaguest sense possible, the universe wants to give you a gift for it and you reject it, like that, that doesn't help you or anyone else, you know?
That makes
But I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great book idea.
Great.
So,
Yay.
Aaron, you were a fantastic first hot seat. Thank you so much. You sound like a great person. I'm going to mute you now, and we're going to do 1 or 2 more before. I think we ought to take a break. What do you guys think?
Sure.
Yeah,
Let's do
hey,
one.
Tucker, a question that showed up in the chat that is appropriate here. Leah is asking, do you have to decide now what you want to get out of your book?
No. Like I said, positioning is fluid. So put something down now, and then as you go through, you can come back and change it or add to it. The thing is, if you don't know why you want to write a book, like you don't know what you want to get out of it, then it's almost impossible to know the rest. Like how do you know who your audience is or why they're going to care if you don't know what you want? I mean, this is when clients come to us at Scribe, the first thing we ask them is, why do you want to write a book? Right? Like, what are you hoping to get out of it? And it can be for you or for other people. Like, that's why we split the question into 2. What do you want your readers to get? What do you want to get? Because they're both important. But if you don't know what you want from this book, it's really hard to nail it down. Now, if you're writing a memoir, again, if you think it might be a memoir, then this question might be hard to answer. You can leave it fluid for right now.
All right. So I want to bring on David. I think this might be our author, David.
Is this David Allison?
I believe so. David, you'll have to unmute your mic. Can you do that in Zoom for us now?
Hey kids, how are you?
Hey,
David, what's up, man?
I'm locked up in my apartment in Vancouver, social distancing and being a good boy. How about you guys?
We're doing the same. Yep.
Good. This is a great course. Thank you for putting it on. It's a wonderful response to this situation from all my friends at Scribe. So good for you.
Thank you, man. Just so you guys know, we published a book with David called We're All the Same Age Now, which is about using value graphics instead of demographics in marketing. And we've used it. It's amazing. It really helped us. Your second book's not quite out yet, or is it out?
No. That's why I'm here.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so what's changed since my first book, which as you know is about how we can use value graphics, this massive data set we built for North America to understand what people really care about instead of demographic stereotypes. We now have the data for the whole world. So we have 500,000 surveys and we're accurate for 180 countries. So my three objectives, how do I want my book to serve my readers? I want to be able to help them 8 times their influence with this first ever global data set of how target audiences make decisions about everything. Number 2, I want to compare and contrast various archetypes and regions around the world so people understand what everybody cares about and how their audience fits in. Number 3, I want to teach them how to use this process we've come up with called values thinking. It's kind of like design thinking, but better, instead of demographic stereotypes to make decisions about anything that they need to make decisions about.
Love it. Those are great.
Cool. 2 years from now, what do I hope that this has done to make my efforts worthwhile? I want to have made values thinking a globally known approach to decision making in any situation. I want to level up the reputation and global reach of my client base. I want to be working all over the world, not just in North America. And I want to establish me as the global authority on influencing audience behavior.
Okay, so these are good. They're a little bit over ambitious, and I don't mean that they're not possible. I just mean that you're putting a lot of pressure on this book, right? So like the first one is read the first one again.
The first, what was it going to do for me in 2 years?
No. Yeah. For that one, for question 2.
Made values thinking a globally known approach to decision making, like design thinking.
So right. So the problem with that, like in 2 years to take this thing and have it blown up, just putting that on a book, that's a lot of pressure on a book, right? Whereas like the way I would phrase that is I want to establish values thinking as a valid avenue for marketing, right? On its way to becoming the dominant paradigm in marketing, right? Or something like that. Like that's realistic for 2 years. You see what I'm saying?
That's fair.
And then read number 3 again under this question.
Establish me as a global authority on influencing audience behavior.
Yeah. So you changed a word. The first time you said establish me as the global authority. Now it's a global authority. No, but that makes a big difference.
I'm a fast learner. You see, I'm a fast learner. I knew where you were
There you go. It makes a big difference. It really does. Because like the global authority is like so much pressure. Oh my God, I've got to be the most important person on this. A global authority is a different thing. It's like, okay, not many people are talking about this. I have all the data and I've done all the work. I can become one of the big voices on this to help people understand this, to raise their influence, etc. That's totally possible, but it takes so much pressure off of you and off the book. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Good advice.
Yeah. Otherwise, I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
So, like, how would you know you are a global authority?
Well, at the moment, I get lots of media and lots of speaking engagements, lots of client work, but it's all in North America. So I just would like to be working in Berlin, Paris, Rome, New York, Tokyo, New Delhi.
Yeah, so it's who's calling you, essentially. That's your validation.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
that's what he meant by global. That was, I know the way David thinks, so that was implied, but it's a great question, Hal. Right. So it's like, I want to, what I'm doing in North America, I want to be doing around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Makes total sense. Oh, dude, your books, I'm telling you, man, there's no better time. Demographic stuff is done.
I tell you right now, if we don't all understand what everybody cares about, we're doomed.
I'm with you. I think it's fantastic. Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Great.
So I'm actually going to also put David's author success story in the chat. It is worth watching, so you can see his journey with his first book. So let's do
champagne moment and then take a break.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. The last question on objectives is, what's the single book event you will celebrate? Like your champagne moment, right? That's my daughter grabbed mine's wife and started drinking it. Took a picture of that. So for example, when I get my first review from someone I don't know on Amazon, like for a lot of people, that's like a big moment, right? Next one, when I get my first client from the book, huge moment for most people, right? When I hold the book in my hands, that is actually usually the number one thing. Like I was telling you guys about Stephanie Banda earlier, when you can see the video on her Facebook page. She pulled the book out and she like starts crying, gets all emotional about it, right? Okay? Those are all examples of champagne moments. The point is, what's the single moment where you will know you are going to break out the bottle of champagne? This is water, but you get what I mean. Break out the bottle of champagne, and with your partner or your friends, you're going to celebrate, right? Now, let's give you examples of ones that are not champagne moments. When I sell 1 million copies again on every bestseller list and Oprah wants me on her show. First off, that's 3 things. And then imagine this. Imagine someone sells 100,000 copies and gets on one bestseller list and only goes on the local news. And like, fuck it, it was not a celebration. There's no celebration. That makes no sense at all. Like this is preposterous even for a huge celebrity, much less a regular person, right? Another bad example, when my book has an impact on my industry, I don't know what that means. Like that's way too vague. You could say something like, when my book is discussed on stage at this specific conference that is the big conference in my industry or whatever, that's at least specific, right? But impact in this thing means nothing. And then when my dad tells me he loves me, again, too much pressure on the book, and that's your dad's problem, not the book's problem, right? Your dad needs therapy. He won't tell you he loves you. All right. So,
and to the point of selling 1 million copies, which it actually comes up a lot, 500,000 nonfiction books are published a year. Maybe 20 sell 1 million copies. You do the math. You don't have a
less,
one.
I think it's less than that.
Okay, so let's say 10. You have a one in. You don't have a 1 in 50,000 chance. You don't. So it's just not going to happen.
No. So but again, if you want to sell as many copies as possible, cool. But the more realistic you are, the less pressure you put on yourself, the more likely you are to write the book, the more likely you are to finish it, the more likely you are to publish it, and then you get benefit. We're not trying to crush your dreams. We're trying to actually encourage you. I know it sounds weird. All right. Do we want to read a couple champagne? Let's have them post them, actually, instead of bringing them on. Who wants to?
They already got started.
All right. Read them out.
Here's a really excellent one from Claire. The opportunity to pick and choose who I will work with.
Well, that's an objective. That's not a champagne moment. I guess I would put that under why you're writing the book, but it's a great objective. Like this, I want in 2 years, I now get to pick my clients instead of having just to accept any asshole that comes by. That's more of an objective. It's a fantastic objective.
Here's one from Ken. Actually, I can see a couple of problems with this. When I sell 10 copies and start gaining popularity in the media. So first off, you need 2 bottles of champagne.
Right.
Second,
what does
I'm not
popularity
sure what you mean by gaining popularity, but 10 copies probably isn't going to get you there.
Yeah. No, selling 10 copies is fine. But like selling 1 copy to someone you don't know, for most people, that's like the moment. But if it's something specific, like I go in the local news, like I'm just telling you guys, super easy to get on local news with a book because they're always desperate for good content and everything is local. So
I'll link to that video, how to get on TV with a book.
Here's another one. If I help people get out of pain, my goal is achieved. That's not what we're talking about here. We're looking for a moment when you can say, I'm going to celebrate. And I don't know how you would know that in this situation.
Right. So guys, hold on. Listen, this is why we put champagne moment in here, right? This is not like, so here's why. Because a bunch of you are putting answers that show that you actually haven't really clearly understood what your objectives are, right? This is a check to make sure your champagne moment should be the moment you've reached, in your mind, you've reached one of your objectives, probably the most important one, right? So if the number one objective is, I want to drive leads to my business, like in question 2, then the champagne moment should probably be something like the moment I sign my first client off of the book. You see how that connects? Doesn't have to be, because it could be when I hold the book in my hand or whatever. It could be other things. But the reason we put this question in is to bring up these this disconnected thinking. So if you got it wrong, it's cool. That means you're like, that's what this is here for. So keep going, Emily and Hal.
Here's a good one. Tucker, I have a thought about this, but I want to hear yours. It says, a Fortune 500 company wants me to advise them on manufacturing.
Assuming the book is about teaching Fortune 500 companies how to manufacture,
It's
then
a
yes,
memoir.
it totally works. Right. But if it's a book about how to love your students, then it would be real
Not so
bad.
much. Well, here's what I was thinking. Like, so Ron, this is the guy who posted this. What if it's a Fortune 1000 company? Would
No,
you
fuck
celebrate
that.
that?
No champagne. Then
No
only
champagne
apple
for
juice.
you. Someone
And-
wrote.
and I'm not trying to.
Sorry.
I was just saying, I'm not trying to pick on Ron, but it's like, give yourself a reason to celebrate. Like, don't set your bar so high that it's going to be hard to
So,
achieve.
but also, Ron is probably a consultant who probably already deals with Fortune 500 companies. So if
Good luck.
he is, then this is very realistic, right? So let's Ron's thing is totally realistic for him if he's already doing something like that, or he's really close. Like, let's say he's already consulting for Fortune 1000, then going up to Fortune 500 off of a book is absolutely realistic.
So
We're
Charlie, go ahead.
seeing several
Mark,
write-ins from people who like want to see their book in the airport, want to see their book in Barnes and Noble. And I just wanted to bring those up because that is very specific to traditional publishing machinery that's in the works as well.
Well, I mean, it's
that's what I
doable.
was going to bring up.
Look, okay, it's doable. You can pay to get your book in the airport, but like, guys, listen to me. That is just an ego thing. Just straight up. And it's okay if you want ego things related to your book. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that having your book in a bookstore airport does not mean anything except making you feel better about yourself. It
And
doesn't
that you
change anyone's-
spend $10,000 to $50,000 a month to get
and
it
you've
in
had to
there.
spend a shitload of money to get in there. Like to do an airport bookstore co-op is anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 per quarter. So all those books you see in bookstores, except for like Harry Potter and the ones that are selling crazy, they paid to be there.
They're billboards.
They're billboards for those people's businesses. Understand that. That's absolutely. Most people don't know that, so that's just news to most people. And then also being in bookstores, like bookstores for the most part only stock books that are through traditional publishers. That's just their thing. That's how they work. And being in bookstores does not make you a valuable author, does not make you valid. It does not change your life. It barely even sells books. And for nonfiction books, it makes basically no difference. I'm not going to tell you it's not cool. If you think it's cool, that's cool. I'm with you on that. But that is just an ego thing. Except for like big beach read fiction, bookstores still sell a lot of copies. But for almost any other nonfiction, airport bookstores do, regular bookstores don't. But it's not going to have an actual tangible impact on your life.